Welcome to So Funny It Hurts. I'm your host and creator, Mikalah Gordon, and this episode is a very special one. It marks our 1 year anniversary of So Funny It Hurts. So I was racking my brain thinking, we need an amazing guest. We need somebody so special and hilarious and gorgeous and funny and just so brilliant. And I thought, why not me?
Good call.
Thanks, George. So it's just me today. And of course, our engineer, George, who has literally been with me since day one as well.
Correct.
It's been 1 year, Georgie.
It's an amazing journey that we've been on here. I was telling you, you've grown a lot as a person. So the true dedicated fans and listeners are seeing this evolution. And yeah, you got a lot of big beginnings starting for you here soon. So
Thanks, Georgie.
this is a good time to do a solo episode.
Yeah, I think it is too. And I said I very specifically requested to have George in the room with me because I feel like, this is something kind of vulnerable for me. I've never just spoken into the camera as myself alone and really talking about growth and development. But I do think that I not only owe it to the listeners and the people that have tuned in this year and really throughout my career, but to myself, because it has really been such an incredible journey this past year. We've had some of the most amazing guests, and so many of the comics have really taken a chance on me. And also our sponsors. Like, I first and foremost want to make sure that I thank Pacific West Injury and Fit Club. They were my first sponsor. Chris Helmick has been so good to me and just allowing me to really grow. I think the first year in anything, you have to take a lot of different risks. You have to see what's going to happen. And it's just been really nice to have that room. Of course, Sticky Paws, John Orlando, thank you for allowing me to grow in this space as well. I have a radio background. I have a television hosting background, but podcast was still pretty new to me. And for the people that are new here, I really was in such a different position last year that really helped mold and develop this. So I felt like I would just share a little bit of my story. As you know, we interview a lot of stand-up comics. A lot of people don't know that I did stand-up comedy for a very long time. At this time last year, Perez Hilton was our first guest. And he was a really great guest. And it was important for me to have him on because I got my start on American Idol at 16 years old. And I had some, it was a very different time. We didn't have social media, but we did have media. And there was a lot of criticism. And one of my harshest critics was Perez Hilton. And so to be able to do a full circle moment, having him be my first guest and talk about my experience with him, it was just an amazing episode for me, for my 16-year-old self, and he's been wonderful this whole year as well. But So Funny It Hurts really came about, I feel like comics oftentimes are the clowns of our society. They're the ones that make you laugh. They're the ones that put on the show. And oftentimes they don't get to talk about their own trauma, their own pain. And usually that's where the humor comes from. And for me, I had a lot of trauma and a lot of pain, particularly last year as well, because not only does it mark the 1 year anniversary of So Funny It Hurts, it marks the 1 year anniversary of me being sober and gluten and dairy free as well. I cheated a little with the gluten. I had a couple cookies, but I don't need to talk about that. It was Girl Scout season, and I said, okay, bitch. I'm supporting the Girl Scouts, so that's how I was able to do it. And it's a big deal for me because I don't know where my sobriety stands. I don't know. I don't attend AA. I kind of was sober curious. But the truth is, I feel like at this time last year, I was kind of walking around a lot in my life, numbing a lot of the pain and poor experiences that I have had growing up. And I felt like that was starting to manifest in my body, and I started getting really bad ulcers, and I started not feeling good at all. And so I really wanted to take on my health. And in doing so, it's true, it really starts from the inside out. And by no longer drinking and going into therapy, I really had to feel feelings for the first time that I'd never felt before. And so while it's been a really great journey, I wish I could say that it was a painless journey, but I think I've experienced feeling more pain and anger and grief, which is probably the number one thing, um, since quitting drinking and really sort of betting on myself. So I just sort of wanted to talk a little bit about that today because I do feel like social media being the highlight reel that it is and kind of the way I like to be is always very fun and easy, but I think it took a lot to get here as well. And I'm so happy to be here. I'm also very nervous. I watched a few TED Talks before I did this episode because I felt like I did a TED Talk on vulnerability and I watched a TED Talk on being your most authentic self. And I feel like that's what it's been like for me, is just trying to be as close to my regular self. I already feel like I'm gonna start to cry because that's all I do now is cry. I do a lot of crying all the time. Um, but it is very vulnerable for me to share this in this space, but I also think it's really important because I feel like um George. I feel like I'm gonna try to be as emotionally stable as possible. But the truth is, it has been um it's been really amazing watching this year progress. And I think that the thing that I heard in this TED Talk today that I thought was really great was we hide behind a lot of things when we don't want to be seen fully as ourselves, and whether that starts in childhood and then grows with you. I think that at this time last year and for a majority of my life, I was doing a lot of hiding behind work, hiding behind being busy, hiding behind drinking wine. Um, I grew up in a house where, you know, it formed me into being a really big people pleaser, and there was a lot of addiction, and a lot of different things that I grew up seeing that I probably should not have seen, and as a result, it really has put a strain on my relationship with my own mother, and even to calculate it, I didn't realize I've now not talked to my mother longer than I have talked to her. And that was just sort of a crazy realization because in showing up as my authentic self, my ability to tap into my softness and my femininity and my vulnerability is like being asked of me. And I think that it's forcing me to just see different ways of ways of how I was hiding. And so I think that I just wanted to encourage people as well, by removing all the things that I was hiding behind. I've really gotten to see my most authentic self and who she is and what she looks like. And, um, we've talked with a lot of comedians that share that as well. I mean, Pinky Patel was one of my favorite guests that we talked to, who's very open about being a people pleaser. And I think that sometimes people pleasing gets a poor connotation, like, oh, you're fake, or, oh, you need attention. And I think that it all really does derive just from wanting to be loved. I think for me, especially, the reason I was funny growing up, the reason I sang, is because really I just wanted to feel loved. And it's such a primal need that so many people want to feel. And I think that that's really what started my comedy. Making people laugh appeared to make people happy. And growing up in a house that was very sad, I felt like that was what brought a lot of joy and what got me out of a lot of trouble. So it's been really just a really nice thing to hear other comedians as well. And I think that, you know, we've had some of the best. We've had Jamie Kennedy, we had Luenell, and they all really talk about their trauma and their pain here on this podcast. And I think aside from love, we just want to feel connected and we want to feel like we belong somewhere, because a lot of my life I didn't feel like I really belonged. And so that was really just the start of this podcast and the reason behind it. And I didn't know how long it was going to last. I didn't have any expectations of this podcast. I didn't anticipate it doing well. I didn't anticipate it being weekly. I didn't anticipate getting all of the comedians. I just knew I needed to have a place to put my pain, and I needed a place to talk about my trauma and things that I was like revealing, not in a mental health space. I wanted to do it in a funny way, because everything's sad enough, and I wanted to laugh at my own pain. And so funny it hurts was born. And so I feel like we have so much to do, and I'm so grateful. And I'm just really happy that it's gotten received so well. And I just wanted to take, a couple minutes with my full transparency to remind you guys that, like, we really are doing our best. And this podcast that is so fun and so funny came from a time in my life where I didn't even think I could get out of bed. I know that, I wasn't suicidal, but suicide ideation was big for me, because I didn't have any answers as to how to stop like all of this pain that I was feeling. And I think that a lot of people experience that. And now learning that all of this anger and sadness is just grief, and we're just looking for a place to put the grief. It's been very eye-opening, and it's also been very lighthearted and very fun. And so um, I get a lot of questions all the time where people say, you know, um, you seem so confident. Like, oh my God, you would never think that you're the type of girl that would ever feel, insecure or any negative feelings. If you know me, you know that's not true. Um, Again, I think that, growing up, I was really living in survival mode, and I really didn't have a lot of time to sit with my feelings, because I was just trying to make sure that my household was good and I was showing up and I was taking care of my family. And there was no time to be insecure. And I think that's been the majority of my life. Like, it wasn't that I wasn't insecure, I just had no time to feel insecure. And I guess that came off as very confident, because I was like strong and just hustling through and getting through. Um, but I was very insecure, more insecure than I even realized. And so I think it's just a really good, perspective as to how we see people as well. I would like to also acknowledge the incredible ketamine treatments that I've still been receiving from Las Vegas Ketamine, another sponsor of ours. And I shared this story on my Instagram story, but I think it's important to share. I was talking with my doctor a couple weeks ago. I did a ketamine treatment. If you're not familiar with ketamine treatments, I do highly recommend. I've got videos on it. I've interviewed my doctor. They've been absolutely incredible in regards to helping heal my PTSD, depression, anxiety. But when I was talking to him a few weeks ago, he said, it's so interesting about society, because I will have clients come in here and I'll say, hey, oh, how are you? How are you feeling? And they'll say, oh my God, I feel so great. I feel so good. But I can see on their sheets, on their number check sheets, that they're very suicidal, that they're having and suffering from deep depression and anxiety. And they're looking at my face and saying, no, everything's fine. But I'm there to treat them for this severe, anxiety and depression. And I felt like that was such an important lesson moving forward just in life as well. I think that a lot of us are taught to just put on and say we're okay and everything is fine, and not remembering that, people are really suffering. And I think that if you can just take the extra time and grace with yourself, and take the extra time and grace with others, and have the ability to show up as your most authentic self and giving permission to be their most authentic selves, it is just chipping away a little bit at these stereotypes and ways that social media make us feel. And so I just wanted to take a few minutes. I am sweating so bad. I'm reeking in spray tan because I'm so nervous about getting vulnerable. But I felt like it was really important. And, look, at the end of the day, I just wanted to say thank you so much to everybody that, thank you so much to supporting what I do, engaging in these conversations, meeting me where I'm at. Some of you have followed me for a really long time, and you've seen the ebb and flow from the good times to when I lost my grandma to dealing with depression and anxiety myself. And, you know, it means so much to me for the people that have continued to stick around and click and like and view. And even if you haven't, I hope that some of these conversations have met you where you needed to be met. And, ultimately, I just want to create a space where people can feel seen and heard and loved, because I definitely know the feeling of not feeling like that. And so as I um, learn how to give that to myself, I hope that this helps put you on a journey where we can laugh through it and also feel good. I feel so corny and cheesy saying that, but I really do want everyone to feel good about themselves. And um lashes are falling off, George.
Oh no.
I just wanted
You've
to
been doing
say
so
thank you.
good.
I know we were doing so good, but now I'm emotional. And that's how much it means to me. So thank you so much for tuning in. We have another amazing year. I can't wait to share all of this really good news that's coming, and all of the not so good news. I feel like transparency really is important. And going into this next year, I'm going to be even more real and even more chaotic and even more emotionally unstable until I'm completely emotionally stable, because that's okay to be insane. And that's just what I wanted to say. So thank you so much. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Georgie.
Mikalah, this is awesome. Yes. This is why people watch, because they love you and the message you're spreading. And
Thanks,
that's beautiful.
George.
Yes.
Thank you, George. Well, you do. You feel like kind of an asshole. You're like, I just want world peace. But I do.
That's it.
I really do.
Give us world peace.
Yeah.
Year 2, world peace.
It sounds so like Miss Congeniality. I competed in a pageant by my own choice. I wanted to. I love pageant girls. I'm obsessed with them. But I'm only 5'2", and all the girls were 5'8". And so when you look on this, I didn't even place, first of all. But then when you looked on this stage, they were like, beautiful, 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 tall. Boom. There was like a drip. And then beautiful, tall, tall, tall. So I knew that pageants were not for me, darling.
That's funny.
But world peace is, bitch.
Yes.
And making women feel empowered is very important to me. And making men feel empowered is very important to me. And, that's important. I also would like to share some other good news. I didn't know how I was going to break the news, but it's a good full circle moment. When I started this podcast, I had just lost my morning show. I was hosting an incredible national LGBTQ morning show for 4 years with Channel Q. And I was devastated when it ended, as people are. I hate goodbyes. I hate endings. I'm like so not good with it at all. And I moved back to Vegas and I created this podcast this past year. And I just worked really hard. And one of my favorite radio stations is 98.5 KLUC. I grew up listening to Chet Buchanan. And it was always just a staple of my childhood, even into adulthood, and being from Vegas. And so I got a call not too long ago from Chet Buchanan himself. And I am also I'm honored and proud and excited to announce that I will officially be hosting with Chet Buchanan the morning show Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on 98.5 KLUC. And I just want to thank that whole team and the whole team at Odyssey and my team at Channel Q, because I never could have anticipated a year later I would be able to do radio again. I just was trying my best and doing my best. And it was just the sweetest surprise, very nostalgic because it was the station I grew up listening to. I'm honored, I'm excited, and I'm nervous. I really am nervous. I hope you guys like what I have to say. And if you don't, just still tune in because I want the ratings to be good. Just you can turn me down, just don't turn me off. Do you know what I'm saying? Just put your earplugs in.
I am so going to listen to so the times, you'll be the morning zoo, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know.
Oh, that's flashbacks.
I know. It's so exciting. So 98.5 KLUC, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. with the legendary Chet Buchanan. I'm so excited to join the family. I'm so excited to continue this podcast. So funny, it hurts. Thank you to our amazing comics that have continued to join us. Thank you for showing me so much love and support and letting me just live out my psychotherapy in real life, real time. George, we're going to have another big year. Thank you to Sticky Paws and you.
Of course. Yeah, no, year 2, I got lots of big plans. But they're all like nerdy analytic stuff on the back end. I just know that it's going to happen.
No, that's fine because I don't know anything about analytics, algorithm, nothing.
Yes. So I got big plans, goals set for this show on the back end.
Oh, good, George. Thank God.
And then, yeah, so the people know that, it's not just you,
Yeah.
This is a mission.
Yeah. Okay, George.
You and I are on a mission. Year 2, world peace in numbies.
Numbies and world peace. And Georgie.
Yes.
Thank you. I can't wait. And also the biggest thank you to my editor, Zach, who I know I drive insane, but he always creates the best clips. He's so wonderful. He's such a great musician. He's such a great friend, such a great family man. And he always makes the best edits and reels for me. So I'm super grateful. I always like to say I'm a one-woman show, but there's definitely a little army and team behind me.
Oh, yeah. But you're a great leader, so it's easy.
Oh, thank you. She's a leader, baby. Oh, she's a leader.
Oui.
I love you guys. Thank you. Happy 1 year. And I'll see you on the next episode of So Funny It Hurts. So Funny It Hurts is brought to you by Pacific West Injury Law. Got into an accident? Contact Pacific West Injury Law. Also, there's nothing better for your mental health than a great workout. And our episode is brought to you by Fit Club, the only place to be. It's so funny, it hurts.